All right, so today I wanted to talk a little bit more about jobs and kind of the economy as a whole because, like I've been bringing up for the longest time, things really aren't that good out there still. Um, and the first thing I always need to bring up when it comes to this kind of stuff too is a lot of people like, oh, pessimistic, optimistic, all that kind of garbage. Um, People need to be realistic, right? The whole pessimistic, optimistic thing is garbage if you ask me. You need to be realistic, right? That is the key. And again, if things are bad, you got to be honest about it. Again, it's something I really can't stand about a lot of people these days is that whenever you bring some of this stuff up, they're like, "Oh, you're always so pessimistic," but yet they're the same people that are like, Trump stole the election and kids in cages and all this just number one, either outright lies, or number two, just complete hysteria, right? Oh, the Jason Kenney wants to take away your free healthcare. Jason Kenney wants to, you know, all this garbage that again, it's complete lies. Like again, so the same people that believe that are pessimistic about things that aren't even true, or at the very least, just mindless hysteria, are the same people that don't want to talk about legitimate things that are technically pessimistic, right? So that's something that I really can't stand about some people. So I wanted to bring that up off the start. Um, but anyway, it's from CNN here. 1 year into the pandemic, America is still down nearly 10 million jobs. And the one thing I would point out too, as far as Canada is concerned, is that we're even worse. Our official number, I think, is like 900,000 roughly, I think. But again, that's not including the difference between Canada and the US is that Canada technically has a de facto UBI right now, which means Canada would have, I think the US has unemployment benefits as well, but it's not to the same degree as Canada, at least I don't believe. Um, but anyway, so again, the unemployment rate is people who are actively looking for work. Someone who isn't actively looking for work isn't going to be included in the unemployment rate. The other big problem with the unemployment rate, I mean, one of many, is people who take a job that is lower paying than the one they had before are also not going to be included that in that thing, right? In the official unemployment rate. So again, when you're looking at the unemployment rate, it's probably safe to assume that the real number is about double as high when you include the people who aren't looking for work and when you include the people who had to take a lower paying job. So again, we see whatever 9, 10 percent unemployment in Canada right now. The real number is probably 20%, which is a staggering amount. And there's no way that number is sustainable, right? There's no amount of new taxes that can cover up that difference. Um, So anyway, they say the American job market is nowhere near fixed. Nearly 1 year into the pandemic, the nation is still down nearly 10 million jobs. Another 745,000 Americans filed for first-time unemployment, on benefits on a seasonality adjusted basis this week. The Labor Department reported Thursday it was a slightly smaller number of claims than economists had expected, but was up from the prior week, and it's still more than 3 times the number of claims in the same week last year. On top of that, 436,696 workers applied for pandemic unemployment benefits, which are available to people like the self-employed or gig workers. Together, first-time jobless claims stood at 1.2 million without seasonal adjustments. In Texas, claims rose by nearly 18,000. Um, yeah, I'm not gonna talk anymore about the article. You can go check it out if you really want. But um, the main point is very simple that um, it's not a light switch, and I mean that's the main problem. But the other big problem as well is that it's gonna take quite a while for things to get back to normal if they ever do. Again, I've made several predictions that are already that are, by the day are becoming more and more true because um, things aren't just going to go back to normal. Again, this is one of the many things, the endless list that the lockdown supporters get wrong. Is the lockdown, regardless of what you think about lockdowns, I mean, that's completely irrelevant to the point I'm trying to make. The lockdown supporters seem to think that you can just flip things on and off like a light switch, right? That's why you hear this whole circuit breaker lockdown thing. I guess a circuit breaker is not the same, well, kind of the same as a light switch. Um, but that's not how reality works. And this is just proof to just how ignorant these people are because, again, you talk to anyone who runs a business, right? Talk to anyone who runs a business. They'll tell you it's not that simple. A lot of businesses, they don't have cash reserves to where if they shut down for 2, 3, 4, over a year, they don't have the cash reserves to make up that difference, right? And the other thing that the lockdown supporters get wrong is that if they said, oh, if we only shut down, one month circuit breaker lockdown, we'd be perfectly fine. But that's not true, right? Again, Australia, New Zealand are both on third, fourth lockdowns now. So again, there's no data that shows that circuit breaker lockdowns work, right? There's no data that shows that, right? So again, I just wanted to make that clear. Um, but again, that's the problem. And like I said, the other prediction that I made is that I think that 7, 8% unemployment is going to be considered normal. And for all we know, 10, 20 years down the road, you may get called a conspiracy theorist if you point out that 7, 8% unemployment is very high, right? Because if it gets normalized, it'll be a conspiracy theory, right? That prior to this whole situation, anything above, I would say like 5, but government may argue 6, um, is high. But now that number is going to move up by a percent or two. And what are those people? What is that 1, 2, 3% of people? Well, and again, like I say, that's a very low end estimate, right? The real number is probably double that. Well, those people are going to be people that are living off the system, right? So if you look at, I don't know, 5% of Americans, that's 20 million people. You now have an extra 20 million people that are living off the system that aren't putting literally anything into the system, but they're taking out a pretty significant amount. In Canada, 5% of the population is maybe, I don't know, 35 million, I think it's like 37, 38. Quarter million people. We have an extra quarter million people that are, um, maybe I'm getting my math wrong there. But anyway, like I say, that, oh, sorry, it would be like 2.5, 2.5. But anyway, like I say, the number is kind of irrelevant. Um, we have that many more people that are just going to be living off the system. Again, this is the thing I brought up too, is that a lot of these people's solution is, oh, if we just raise taxes, we'll be good to go. That's not going to work out. Again, I've been over those numbers a million times as well, is that just because you raise taxes doesn't mean you increase government revenue, right? So the solution here is very simple. There is no perfect solution, to be fair, but there is things that are far better than what we are doing. Um, the first thing would be to end the lockdowns, end them, go back to normal. People want to stay at home and be paranoid, go ahead, but stop forcing other people to do it. And the next thing would be is just let the free market do its work, like in a nutshell. And the third thing I think would be cut off immigration. Like I said a million times too, I think that ending mass immigration would do more to help the economy than pretty much anything, to be quite honest. Um, immigrate like I said before, like when it comes to immigration, is that If we can get unemployment below 4%, preferably even lower yet, but that would be a number I would probably be willing to go with. Um, and we can keep it below there for a decent amount of time. If we can have median wages start to tick up, if we can keep inflation below 1% or 2%, but legitimately 1 or 2%, not the heavily manipulated CPI. It's actually, again, another thing that the real inflation's like probably double, maybe even triple what the CPI tells you. Same goes for the unemployment. If we can do all that stuff, but then by all means, maybe we can have some immigration. But until then, there's no need for it. For the simple reason that you're not, a lot of the time you're not even helping the immigrants. Number two, you're hurting the existing population. Again, it's very funny, the same people that go on and on and on about the minimum wage and about how life isn't affordable enough for the same people that want to make life more unaffordable by raising taxes, regulations. Again, and mass immigration, right? Like mass immigration is one of the main reasons why median wages haven't ticked up over the last 20 years and have barely ticked up over the last, generation or two. So again, like if we want to fix things, it actually would be relative. Like I say, no one has a perfect solution, but a step in the right direction would be easy. Like if you were a new government and you just said, okay, no new, or I don't think you'd ever sell people on no new immigration, but at the very least, let's cut it in half, right? At the very least. Um, at the very least, let's cut some regulations. At the very least, let's cut spending, right? Because again, that what people don't understand is that um, the more you spend in the here and now, the less you're going to be able to spend down the road. It's just proof just how stupid the average person is these days, because the more you save in the here and now, the more you're going to be able to spend down the road, and obviously the vice versa is true as well. So for all the people that want to keep running bigger and bigger deficits, what they're really saying is that I want to spend, and again, they're admitting that they're selfish, right? They're admitting they're selfish because they're selfish by definition. They want to spend more than is available to spend in the here and now at the expense of people down the road. By wanting to run deficits in the first place, but especially massive deficits, what you're saying is that um, I want to I want to consume more than I legitimately is fair right now, than we legitimately, fair is subjective, more than we legitimately can afford at the expense of people down the road, because the more we spend in the here and now, the larger the interest payments are going to be down the road, which means the more money you're taking out of taxpayers' pocket, because again, the government doesn't pay the interest payments, the taxpayers do. Or the government just prints the money to do it. But again, that'll just cause inflation, probably will cause inflation that will, which is a hidden tax on the taxpayers. So either way, at the end of the day, it's the taxpayers that face the brunt of all of this stuff. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to bring up today. Like I said, that the answers here, like I said, no one has a perfect solution, but steps in the right direction would be very easy. The problem, like I said, is selling people on the solution, right? And because of all the propaganda out there these days, that's probably never going to happen, unfortunately. So uh, anyway, if you liked the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you check out those links below. Follow me on those other platforms if you haven't already. If you want to donate, you could do that as well. Again, I would very much appreciate whatever support I can get. But like I said, at the very least, just hit that like and subscribe and stay tuned for more.